This morning, Kim Worthy, the Wayne County prosecutor, instituted the 3 charges that you're all aware of. It was second-degree murder, manslaughter, and the use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. The family and myself are very pleased with that, and we believe that the facts substantiate that. Today, you will have an opportunity to talk to Renisha's and her father, Walter, and they'll answer just about any question you ask, except don't ask them where she was before she got murdered. Don't ask them that, because they don't know. They have no idea where she was. But what we all know is that she had been in a car accident and that she sustained an injury. Her face was bleeding, she was dazed, and she ended up a couple hours later on the porch of this man, Wafer. We do know that her blood alcohol showed that she was intoxicated. She may have been boisterous, she may have been loud, she may have been noisy, but there was no evidence that she attempted to break into Wafer's house. None whatsoever. And that was investigated thoroughly by the police department and the prosecutor's office. This man had absolutely no justification to take a shotgun and blow her head off. He was in his house, locked, he was safe. He heard loud noises outside. I don't know what those noises were, but let's assume they were real loud noises, boisterous, yelling, screaming. He was safe in his house, and we know he had a phone, because after he blew off her head, he called 911. And all he had to do when he heard those noises, if he was frightened at all, was to call 911. We also know that the Dearborn Heights Police Department responded within 2 minutes. Therefore, had he made the call, presumably they would have been there in 2 minutes. He took his shotgun, he went to the door, opened up the door, and he shot her head off through a screen-locked door. The screen door was locked. There was never any confrontation between him and her. People have asked whether or not this is analogous to the Trayvon Martin case. No one really knows what happened then, but we do know that there was physical confrontation and there was confrontation, physical confrontation, and Trayvon was killed. In this case, there was no physical confrontation. This man wasn't threatened. Look at his pictures. He's over 6 feet tall. Renisha was 5 feet 4 inches tall, 19 years old. And if you look at her pictures, she's got a baby face. She may have been intoxicated. Well, we know she was intoxicated, but that doesn't give anybody the right to blow off her head and kill her. The charges are correct, and we're pleased with the investigation that the prosecutor's office has done here. This is Walter. This is Monica. And if you'd like to ask some questions, would you want to start with Walter? Want to come up here?
We just want to thank the prosecuting office for the thorough job to bring the charges that they brought against Mr. Wafer. I don't even know why I'm saying Mr. Wafer. This monster that killed my daughter. And I think they did a thorough job, and they came up with the right decision. And I hope he spends the rest of his life in jail.
I want to thank the community for standing out and speaking on justice on behalf of my daughter. I thank Kim Worthy for her verdict and taking her time and getting the accurate evidence and all the facts before she made any decision. I was very patient and prayerful and faithful that she would come to the right charges to charge this man. I know her father called her a monster, called him a monster, but I'm not going to call you a monster. You said it was an accident. When you accidentally do something to someone, you say you're sorry or you apologize. You did no accident. You took a life, and you took a beautiful life that was starting to blossom into a beautiful woman. And for that, I hope you stay in jail for the rest of your life, because I have to go on with my life and her father without our daughter. And I appreciate if the media would not elaborate or twist things. I know a lot of people have been talking. I hope me and her father clear it up here today for anything that you want to know about Renisha, and leave it at that. Thank you.
Could I say something? Mr. Thurswell will be answering all legal questions. They will be answering questions that you have to ask. If you could do it one at a time, then we can take you one at a time. Questions?
Mr. Thurswell, what's your reaction to the bond, the $250,000, 10% cash security, likelihood that he, and if you would step up to the mic, please, likelihood that he could be bonded out by tonight, be back out?
He may be bonded out, but he's not going to be able to run. He's not going to be able to run. They'll find him. They'll find him. The purpose of a bond is to ensure that he'll appear at the next hearing. The next hearing is scheduled for December 18th at 9 o'clock, where there'll be a preliminary examination. And the judge inquired about his background, whether or not he had ever left Michigan. Apparently, there was a year when he was at Northern Michigan University, but he's worked at the airport for 10 years. So I think the judge did the proper thing. So being in jail today is not justice. Convicting him will give him guilty, will give justice, and then the appropriate sentence for this horrendous crime. This was a daughter, this was a sister, this was, as her mother said, a beautiful young lady. They brought a trophy when she played soccer in high school. She was a high school graduate. She was working full-time. She worked at Ford Motor. She was a good person. Her mother, Monica, said earlier today, it was interesting, somebody asked her a question, and Monica said, do you remember what you said? That your daughter was always helping other people. Anytime somebody had a problem, her daughter was there to help. And the very night that her daughter needed help, instead of giving her help, they ended her life.
Are you concerned as an attorney there might be some wiggle room here for a jury or some sort of a plea bargain with the way it was charged?
Well, Kim Worthy is a brilliant lawyer, a brilliant prosecutor. By giving those appropriate charges that she did and we agree with, if this goes in front of a jury, if they don't find him guilty of second-degree murder, they can find him guilty of manslaughter. And that's an option that the jury did not have in the Trayvon Martin case. Kim Worthy should be applauded.
Can you elaborate? Why is that a good thing?
Because if for one reason or another evidence comes out not to support a second-degree murder, in my wildest dreams, I can't believe he wouldn't be found guilty of manslaughter.
Can you elaborate in the layperson sense, a stand-your-ground defense kind of rests on whether the jury believes there was fear in the mind of the defendant? And
Well,
as he alluded to, a lot of ambiguity there. Can you, in a legal sense, address that? And it just seems open for jury interpretation, as all trials are, but even more so.
Well, I don't know if you want to just go into the mind of the defendant. The statute requires that he have a reasonable belief that his life is in imminent danger. He could lose his life or he would suffer great bodily harm. Take this case. He was in his house. The door was locked. He had a shotgun. Nobody opened up the screen door. The screen door was still locked when he shot her. Where's his reasonable belief that his life was in jeopardy or that he was in danger of great bodily harm? Imminent great bodily harm. Take that word imminent. All he had to do was call 911 in 2 minutes. The police were there. This is Dearborn Heights, a small community with a very efficient police department.
Do we know how quickly he called 911 after the shooting?
No, that's a good question. Isn't that a good question? He's the only one who knows from the time the shot was fired until the time he called 911. That's a good question.
Can either of the parents share anything about your daughter's interests and what she did in school and professionally, what she aspired to, or any?
My daughter, She loved to play soccer. She loved to work. She loved to play with her two sisters. She has an older sister and she has a younger sister. And that is going to be the biggest tragedy ever, that they don't not get the opportunity to see her ever again. They don't get the opportunity to play with her again. They don't get the opportunity to see her grow, blossom into a woman, be able to just spend time with her. He took that from my family, and it's a tragedy. And he will get what he deserved through this trial. I believe that.
She loved their animals. She was an animal lover. She always had an animal, so preferably a dog. She loved her animals, and as her father said, she was very family-oriented. Family was always first. She would just be inclined to help wherever she could. And we instilled in her that if you can't help a person, don't hinder them. She never was brought up to be a harmful person to anybody. She always wanted to help you. If she couldn't help you, she would go and get you some help. Find somebody that could help you. Hey, Mom, hey, Dad, this person, can you tell me what to do to help them? I can't imagine in my wildest dreams of what that man feared from her to shoot her in her face. I can't grab myself to that belief to why you wouldn't pick up the phone. If I'm in danger, I'm going to call the police. Now, that devastates me, and I'll never know that until the trial, and I would like to know why. I would like to know why. There's got to be a reason why, because I still can't see no danger. She brought him no danger.
Ms. Monica, have you spoken with your daughter that day?
We're not going to talk about what happened on that day. We're just not going to talk about what happened. It's too painful to get involved. We don't know where she was those hours before the accident or from the time of the accident until she appeared at the shooter's house.
Are you at least able to address the proximity versus where the vehicle was and whether, assume she was looking for maybe somebody with the lights on, or why she ended up a couple of blocks up, or is there anything you can tell in that regard?
The only thing we assume is that she was looking for help. And what's interesting is her sister said to me today, confused and dazed, they live in a corner house. And Waver's house is a corner house. So maybe being dazed, confused, and we admit that she was intoxicated. Maybe she thought that was her home. We don't know. We don't know.
I'm sorry, I'm just not clear. How far is this area? I've been out there. How far is this away from where you live?
It's a ways. I'm not clear on how far, but it's a ways from me.
You live on the west side, though, of Detroit?
Yes, I do.
So it's probably a few miles, maybe?
I couldn't estimate
It's
that.
quite a distance. The bottom line is we don't know why she was there. I've explored that. We have no idea why she was driving on that street. Maybe she was going someplace, and because of the accident, she didn't get to her destination. But we don't know. But I'm convinced and I believe that the prosecutor has a lot more information than we have. We haven't done an independent investigation to go to everybody that saw her in the accident. We didn't go to the neighbors of Wafer. But we do know, Mr. Scott here, Ron Scott, we do know that she had knocked on at least one other house before she got to the shooter's house. We do know that.
When we went out that night, the first night when we were doing a vigil, there were individuals who actually circulated a pamphlet or a one-pager calling for justice. And at least there was one neighbor who at that particular point indicated that she had knocked on a door. Now, whether or not he can independently could be corroborated or not, that was what they told us.
Have you heard from the family, or anyone in the shooter's family or the shooter reach out to you to apologize?
No. And what I would hope, he did wrong. He did wrong. And he should take responsibility for his full conduct, and he should get a hold of the prosecutor, and he should plead guilty, because this family will not have closure until he pleads guilty or is found guilty. So as soon as we can have some closure, the better this family will be, and they'll be able to go on.
If he did offer an apology, what would the parents, what would their reaction be to it?
I couldn't accept the apology because my daughter don't breathe no more, but he does. And for that, I couldn't accept no apology.
I didn't say an apology. I said he should admit responsibility and,
Right, I know
and
this
plead
is
guilty,
what
because
you said, when
this
you're-
family wants to go on.
You say you're sorry, so that's fine.
If I could add one thing, and we didn't want to let anybody but the parents speak, you've been asking for that. What I can say, there's been a lot of discussion about what this is. And Mr. Thurswell has mentioned it before, that this was a case of human profiling. You know, you think about any one of your children, any one of your relatives, no matter who they were that night, that this could have happened to them. So as you write this story, as you show the video, just think about the fact that any 19-year-old girl might be in a similar situation. And that should bring us together as a community to demand justice and not separate us at all. Thank you.
Why today? Why are you speaking out today?
Because the charges had already been instituted. We didn't want to influence the prosecutor one way or another. We didn't want to make this a racial situation. We didn't want to inflame anybody. We wanted the prosecutor to do an independent, thorough investigation. And I'll tell you, everybody in this room and everybody in the state of Michigan should be grateful to have such a wonderful prosecutor as Kim Worthy. She could not have been more thorough. Renisha's mother said, we wanted a thorough investigation because we wanted a conviction. And if you don't have a thorough investigation and you don't obtain all the facts, all you're going to have is some charges that will be thrown out.
You say you didn't want this to be racial. Parents, do you believe this was a racial situation?
I believe that this man took my daughter's life for no reason at all, from just one human being to another, you know. And we just want justice done, and we think that the prosecution office will do that.
You guys passed out photos to some of the media. Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, the backstory behind those photos, how old she was, that kind of thing?
Yes. About 12 years old at that time. Me and her younger sister had went to Disney World, and that's where those photos are from. You know, this is why I say my other daughters won't never get that opportunity to spend time with her and have fun. You know, go through good times, bad times, anything. You know, because she's not here anymore.
What did you all teach your daughter about race, and what kinds of interactions did she
Well,
have?
let me suggest this to you. The family is not taking a position that this is black or white. This was a 19-year-old girl. It could have been your sister, your daughter, your mother, anybody. And this man came out and he killed her for no reason at all, no justification. The family's not taking a position one way or another. This was their daughter and she was killed. And it didn't matter yellow or beige or white. This man came out and he blew off her head.
I think it's natural. I know from my own part, I think it's humanly natural to wonder if it had been a white girl on the porch.
Well, let me ask you this question.
I know it's
Let me
natural.
ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. I appreciate that the media is taking such an interest in this case. Renisha was a valuable daughter person. She should be here today. 300 other people have died in the city of Detroit. All of those people had brothers and sisters, parents, children. So the media should have been with all those families too. Ron Scott or one of us said, this was human profiling. You have to value life.
Can you elaborate on that term? You used it yesterday, and I'm not 100% sure I understand what you mean when you use it.
Because you don't take a gun and shoot somebody just because there's a noise outside. Life is valuable. You don't take these guns in the city of Detroit and have everybody... 300 shooters shot 300 people. They don't value life.
Family, I know this is such a hard time for you all. How are you all coping?
Faith, strength, and family. If you got a righteous heart and you know righteous things, you lean on your family for support and you keep your faith in God. For faith is beyond what the eyes can see, and you stay prayerful every day, you know, and you pray for everything to be okay. It's hard. It's very hard. But we make do. We stand. We stand. Because if we hang in there, we'll fall for anything. But we stand, and we stand with the community in America that has spoken out, as the attorney said, of the unjust of this murder. And it's a horrible murder because she deserves to be here right here today with her family.
Are you surprised, given the context Jerry just talked about, with how many people are killed, that this has caught a nerve in the community with your daughter's case and nationally?
I'm not surprised at all. No, I'm not.
Is there anything you could share about what her hopes were for the future? Could you tell us something about your daughter's plans for the future, what she wanted to do, become?
Yes, she was, she worked hard every day. She looked forward to going to school. She was going back to school. She had dreams of being a nurse. She had dreams of being in the automotive field. She loved cars. And to say she was starting to go to school, to take classes, to get to what her opportunities that was going to be available to her and what she felt like she wanted to do. But she was just beginning. She's only been out of high school for a year. She just graduated 2012. So, you know, I mean, she could have been anything. But, you know, she's cut short of that now.
What high school did she graduate from?
Southfield High.
What college was she about to?
What school?
Online classes, she was going to... Renisha was a mama's girl. She loved her daddy, but she was a mama's girl. I couldn't send Renisha away to college. It was just no way it was happening. She'd rather register online and do college classes and work and stay home with mom. She didn't want to turn mom loose, no kind of way. She'd go to work, she'll call on her break every chance she get. She was a beautiful young lady.